Checking. Hey everybody, Bretflix Mazursky here to do kind of a hybrid of the streams I used to do and the streams that I've been doing recently. I'm actually going to do a movie review again, but I'm still going to be playing games while I do it. So, as the title suggests, I'm going to talk about the new Monster Hunter movie. And while I do that, I'm going to play the new Monster Hunter demo. Because I mean, if anyone watching is all interested in Monster Hunter, the game, then you might know that there's this new game coming out, and they dropped an update for the demo where you can now fight the flagship monster Magna Malo. And I have done several attempts and failed every single one of them. So, I mean, I haven't really been playing too hard to try to beat him. I mean, I mostly just wanted to fight him, see what he's like, see what some of the new mechanics and stuff are, so I'm not too dead set on like trying to make sure that I can take him down. I mean, I'm not really gonna worry about that till the full game comes out. But so while I fiddle around with this game, let me tell you about the Monster Hunter movie because it's very, very interesting, at least to someone like me, because the movie is something that I've been very excited to watch this movie. As a movie fan and a video game fan, the name Paul W.S. Anderson is thrown around a lot by me and by my friends and stuff too. We kind of, I mean, or I should say, I'm really only going to speak for myself, but I kind of like love hate the guy. I mean, I really don't hate the guy, but I don't care for his movies very much. But his movies are interesting. He's a very interesting filmmaker because his movies are very creative. I'll give him that. His movies are always filled with very wacky ideas. And they're not like poorly made exactly. They're poorly written. I will definitely say like the dude's not a good screenwriter. All of his characters always suck. His plots are always very convoluted, especially when you get into the later like Resident Evil movies that he did. It's kind of it's really hard to keep up with what's going on. I have seen all of the Resident Evil movies. Most of them I've seen multiple times, but I couldn't tell you what happens in any of them. I'm always very, very lost. So that guy, that's the guy who's making the Monster Hunter movie. A guy who makes zero effort to accurately represent the source material on screen. And he's making a movie about a game that's very near and dear to me. I don't know why no one's joining this quest. I really wish. I can't kill this thing by myself. I'm just not good enough. Anyway, so he's making a movie that's very, about a game that I like quite a bit. And I just know that he's going to mess it up. Zinc deficiency. Oh, what up, my dude? Our glorious. Oh yeah. So okay, my good friend Zinc Deficiency is in the chat, and he is. I can tell he's pretty excited to hear me talk about this movie. Yeah, Cephalos equals Remubra. Yeah, I've written down some notes actually. Normally when I stream, no matter what I'm doing, even if I'm talking about a movie, I don't usually write notes down. I have before, but this is something where like I want to kind of touch on all the main things and oops. Yeah, I wanted to touch on all the main things, so I made sure to write down a lot of notes. And the whole Cephalos being a Remubra thing, I have made sure to write that down. So I mean, so what I was kind of saying a minute ago was how like Paul W.S. Anderson does not make efforts to accurately represent the games he's making films of. And honestly, whatever. I really don't care. I am a fan of the Resident Evil franchise. I've been streaming Resident Evil 4 on my channel a little bit, and I really don't care that like his representation of Leon in the movies is really stupid, and that he really butchered everything, and those movies are nothing like any of the games, not even the very first one. I'm kind of okay with that. The thing, and that's kind of how the Monster Hunter movie is as well. Like, there's really nothing in the Monster Hunter movie that is like the game. Zinkdeficiency says, I can't stay for the whole thing as I gotta go back to work, but I'll leave a mean comment on the VOD. Oh yeah, please do leave mean comments. I love that stuff. Anyway, so I go into the Monster Hunter movie knowing it's going to be nothing like the games. Like I'm fully expecting that. And that was definitely the case. I mean, the movie didn't accurately represent the game at all. It really felt like it was made by someone who had never played the game, even though the dude claims he's been playing Monster Hunter for like over 10 years. It didn't seem like it. And that's just because of the simple fact that like he just gets things wrong, just straight up wrong. Like I was okay with knowing that the movie wouldn't be like the games, but like that's not even the biggest issue this movie has. The biggest issue is just things are just flat out wrong. And Zinc Deficiency in the chat has already kind of alluded to one of the big things. So Zeke Deficiency had the wonderful pleasure of actually watching this movie with me. And so while we're watching the movie, like we're watching it for the most part. Every once in a while we do stop to kind of comment something stupid that we see. But one of the things we did when we got back, we actually got to see it in a theater too, which is interesting. Theaters are starting to open up again. And I'm really glad about that. I bought the movie because I didn't think I was going to be able to see it in a theater. I bought it, but luckily theaters opened up again. So anyway, we got to see it in a theater. And when we got home from the theater, the first thing we did was took the Blu-ray that I had bought and put it in the player and like watched the special features. And there was just a moment in the special features that I think really epitomizes well the main problem of this movie, and that I'm sure that Paul W.S. Anderson just doesn't really play Monster Hunter. Or maybe like when he says he's been playing for 11 years, like maybe he like plays when the game comes out, and then he plays for like 20 minutes or not 20 minutes, but let's say maybe he plays for like 20 hours, and then he doesn't pick it up again until the next game comes out. So like, yeah, maybe technically he's playing for 20 years, but like it's not like he really knows what he's doing, because there's a moment in the movie where Mila Jovovich gets attacked by a Cephalos. A big attack. Nice. She gets attacked by a Cephalos. And in the special features, they talk about that scene. It's just a quick little moment where Mila Jovovich is approaching like the bank of a river because she's going to take a drink, and she's all excited that there's water, and a Cephalos pops out of the sand and attacks her. Then Tony Jaa like cuts the thing in half real quick. And like I thought it was kind of a cool moment. It was a little monster that I didn't think I was going to see in the movie. But then you hear Paul W.S. Anderson talk about that moment, and he refers to the Cephalos as a Remibra, which is just wrong. Like that's just not what it is. It's not like he accidentally called it like a Cephadrome or something. Like, okay, understandable mistake. It's just the big boy version of the Cephalos. Like I do that all the time. Like I call Buldrome Bullfango all the time. Like that's not a big deal. But he just calls it an entirely different small monster. That is not like the traits aren't similar. They're not monsters that I ever would have like confused with each other. And there are moments in the movie where you have to wonder, like, did this guy ever actually play the games? Because there are things he gets wrong. Ron Perlman's character, I was always so triggered about this. Ron Perlman's character, the weapon he holds, Zinc Deficiency insisted that it was a switch axe. And in retrospect, yes, Zinc Deficiency is correct. it is a switch axe. But the reason why I didn't know it was a switch axe when I watched the movie was because it wasn't doing switch axe things. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm an idiot. It wasn't doing switch axe things. It was acting like a charge blade. Like Ron Perlman was spending the whole movie like slamming his weapon on the ground, and it was like shooting out flames that would travel along the ground the way a charge blade does when you do like the discharges. Doing things that switch axes don't do, and you have to wonder like, wait, how did they get that wrong? That is, I mean, it is a such a small detail, such an easy detail to get right, and they just straight up got it wrong. It's not like it was, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I mean, it's not like a thing where like, oh, maybe he like swung it around in ways like switch axes don't normally do, but it's still like a switch axe. Like, no, that wasn't the thing. It was doing moves that are very characteristic of an entirely different weapon class. And that was the biggest issue I had with this movie. Like, you know, I try not to be like a big fanboy and stuff and think of movies as their own things, because they definitely are. There are a lot of elements about the game that won't translate into onto the screen. Like there's just no way that these very specific game mechanics are going to be represented on screen. Things like you know, like designing your armor sets and stuff like that. Oh, okay, cool. Designing armor sets and like even just like having like 30-minute long hunts and stuff. Like I knew like when they would fight the monster in the movie that each monster fight would be like a 2-minute affair, like at most. And they definitely do that. Like there's a Diablos in the movie that they kill, and it's not a 30-minute hunt, and they're not throwing sonic bombs, and they're not like, you know, learning attack patterns of the monster. Like that's a very gamey thing that I knew wasn't going to be a part of the movie. Even if I made the movie and was trying to keep it close to the game, that's I probably wouldn't have done that. Like in the movie, when they kill the Diablos, it's like they stab it in the head once, and like that's really it. And I expected that much, but then you have to wonder but then there are things that the Diablos does that in the movie that he just doesn't do in the game or wouldn't do in the game. Like, I think Zinc Deficiency made a funny observation that when the Diablos thing was, like when the movie was, when they were dealing with Diablos, it was basically just Tremors light. And that's not really the way Diablos is. And also, like, when you see what Diablos's introduction is, it's chasing a sand ship. And you have to wonder, like, why are the Diabloses, you know, chasing the sand ship? Like, shouldn't the whole setup make me think of the beginning of 4 Ultimate, and I was thinking, like, how come this isn't Darren Morin? Like, why is this Diablos? And apparently it was Black Diablos, which I think was confirmed that it actually was like supposed to be Black Diablos the whole time. But the reason why I never knew that was because like the color schemes they would always have, the monsters looked weird. Like the effects were well done. Like, as again, that's one of those things that's like, just as a movie, I thought the effects were really good. But when you're thinking about the details of like how well does it represent the game, they were really, really bad, because like Rathalos looked really black. Nersillas were straight up black in the movie, and I wasn't quite sure that it was supposed to be Black Diablos, because I was just thinking like, oh, maybe it's just a darker Diablos, just because this movie's trying to just makes every monster black for no reason. And I guess part of like the Monster Hunter lore, and this isn't really something I knew until after I saw the movie. Zinc Deficiency told me this, that in the Monster Hunter lore, like Black Diablos like is regular Diablos, but it's like they're female Diabloses, and when they're in heat, they turn black and get really aggressive. So I just always thought so when you think about that, like that's just another thing that the director just doesn't know the lore or doesn't know the games very well, because like this is just a Diablos that is just chilling in the sand the whole movie, and it's like if it's in heat, then does it just always stay in heat until it finally gets some Diablo's tail, or does it does it just like, why is it just in heat 24/7? Like when they see, like, they spend a couple days out in the desert, and the Diablos is always like that. So again, just details that the director just straight up gets wrong. Or just like how the Meowscular chef's in the movie and he gets referred to as a palico, like that's wrong. Another thing that triggered us in the theater was the moment when Tony Jaa and Mila Jovovich are like in the forest area, and they're making steaks, and we're like, hey, they're making steaks, and Levi leans over to me and he's like she, they better say the thing that she better go, so tasty, when it's done, otherwise he was like, I'm gonna walk out. And she came close, she almost said it, and we were waiting for it. She doesn't say so tasty though, she says so good. And like, maybe, I mean, I'm not saying like the so good line was supposed to be a reference to one of the games. Like maybe he wasn't trying to reference the game. Maybe that was just a line of dialogue where she was just simply just trying to say like she likes the steak that Tony Jaa made. But it's like, dang, for a moment where a little reference to the games would have been really cool and funny, like they kind of missed that opportunity. And I was, we were all just fully expecting to hear go like, so tasty, like maybe not in the same like same dumb voice or anything. Oh snap, we're gonna die. Oh, what? That killed me? That wasn't even an attack. He was just walking, well, kind of jogging towards me, and that one shot me? That's ridiculous. Anyway. Come on. There we go. So, where was I? Getting things wrong. I mentioned the switch axe that was acting like a charge blade. Gaijin Hunter, in his video where he talks about his thoughts on the movie, he says that Ron Perlman was wielding the switch axe like a greatsword. I didn't see great sword there, because Ron Perlman was doing like the spinny thing with the switch axe that you see the charge blade do when it's an axe mode and you spam the A button. He was like doing that thing and spewing fire all over the place. That was another thing. The fire. Why was there so much fire in this movie? They're dealing with the Rathalos in those scenes. Like, why is everyone using fire? Like, I would give Mila Jovovich a pass for using fire, because she's not like, she probably doesn't know. She just found out that Rathalos has even existed. She doesn't know that anything about like what its elemental weakness and stuff is, and plus it's like she didn't like make those dual blades to fight Rathalos. That was just kind of something that Tony Jaa gave her because it's just what he had. And so like I'll give her a pass. Okay, she's using fire, dual blades, whatever. It's just what Tony Jaa had lying around. But Ron Perlman though, like, what's his excuse? He's the what's his face, the Admiral or whatever. Like he comes from the monster hunting dimension. Like, he should know that wraths are weak to like dragon and thunder. What's he doing using fire? And I kind of get that, like, maybe fire is just the more cinematic thing to show. Like, oh, they're swinging these big weapons around and fire is going all over the place. Like, that would probably make more sense to audience members than if they saw them using like water element. Like, if they were using water dual blades, and then when Mila Jovovich would hit the Rathalos or the Diablos or whatever, and like they saw like water come from it, they'd probably be really confused. They might think that like it was, like, oh, is its blood like water, or is that their way of like censoring the blood? Like, it would have seemed weird to people who don't know about the elemental thing. And so like in that kind of respect, I sort of get it. And this is and all the stuff I'm complaining about is mostly just stuff that are flaws. Like, if you're familiar with the games, it's like, I mean, I don't really, oh snap, I don't really read ever. So, anytime a movie's based on a book, it's like 100 times out of 100 I have not read that book. Like, I never read Corvus got wrecked. I never read like Harry Potter. I never read Lord of the Rings. I never read, I don't know, what other books are out there. I don't even know. So, like, when I watched those movies, obviously the inconsistencies with the source material, I had no idea. And when people complained about them, I was like, obviously that didn't really bother me. Zinc Deficiency and I saw the Monster Hunter movie with my roommate Dana, and he's not familiar with the games at all. And so he was totally just watching it as like as just a dude sitting in a theater who wants to watch like a cool movie with monsters and stuff. And he liked the movie. He thought it was not bad. And I'll even admit, like, that side of me that was just trying to judge that movie on its own terms apart from the game thinks that the movie's, it's a competent movie. I like it. It has good effects. I like Mila Jovovich in anything. I mean, she makes everything kind of better, even when she's in really awful movies. You know, she's in a lot of Resident Evil movies, and all those movies are just not good. The first one's kind of okay. I at least think it sort of tries to be a horror movie. I don't think it's a very successful one, but I think that one makes a pretty good effort to try to be like the game, sort of. I don't think it's successful. I don't think it's scary. But, you know, like I said, it tries, and I'll give it some points for that. The rest of the movies I don't feel try at all, and they're really bad. But hey, you know, Mila Jovovich is in them. Like, if I'm going to see, I mean, the ridiculous things that her character does in those movies, like there's that one, I forget which movie it is, where she like jumps off of a building and just like shooting her guns at a crowd of zombies as she's jumping off of like literally like a 50-story building. I guess if I'm going to watch anybody do that, I'd want it to be her, because I think she is genuinely badass and genuinely a really good actress too. I wish she would do better movies, honestly. You know, because The Fifth Element is awesome, and she's really funny. And wasn't she in Zoolander, I believe? If she wasn't, then maybe I sound like an idiot right now, but I'm pretty sure she's in that. And then I remember, at least that the character I think is her. And it's really funny. She's super good. I wish she would do better movies. And I think she's also really good in this movie too. Like, her and Tony Jaa, I think, have good chemistry. It's funny because she's from like the Earth realm and Tony Jaa's from like the Monster Hunter realm, so they don't speak the same language. And it's fun to watch them kind of bond over their lack of understanding of one another. Because they're both good actors, and I just like seeing them on screen together. They have good chemistry. Oh, sweet. People are actually kind of joining this. And I like that the movie, for the most part, stays pretty small. It's mostly just about just Mila Jovovich kind of being out of her element. She doesn't know where she is, or exactly how to get back, or the threat she's facing. And so she teams up with Tony Jaa, and they kind of have to survive together. And it's nice to see them formulate a plan and execute that plan to varying degrees of success. Like, honestly, I just think the movie works for what it is. There's just the Monster Hunter lover side of me that just has a hard time looking past a lot of the flaws. Like, the movie has its own flaws, even in its own right. Like, the last act of the movie doesn't really get resolved. It ends on, I guess, what is a cliffhanger that is clearly supposed to set up a sequel. The problem is that if that sequel never happens, then this movie is basically just going to be incomplete. Like, the story does not resolve. So it's a movie that's not really going to stand on its own. And in that last act, you're also given just a bunch of characters that you don't come to know. You don't get to know what their role is in the world, or anything. You don't really get a bigger scope of like the state of the world that they're even in. I was supposed to eat this a while ago. I can let everyone kind of catch up with me. So yeah, at the very end, they just dump a bunch of characters on you. Like, the first two acts is Mila Jovovich and Tony Jaa, pretty much just the two of them, and I liked all that stuff. And then later, when they finally get out of the desert, enter the jungle, Ron Perlman steps in, his crew steps in. That's when the movie gets pretty sloppy. I think, even in terms of just judging the movie on its own merits. like I think even then, like the movie is kind of sloppy. Like the effects work is still really solid. Um, oh, okay. The effects work is still really solid. It's just story wise things start to get confusing. And I remember when we walked away from the theater and like and Dana was talking about like he was asking Levi and I just a bunch of questions, and he was like, who is this person? Why were they here? Like, he just didn't understand so many things. And we had to kind of explain them. Like, okay, in the game, this is what this person does. This is their role. And the movie just does not do a good job at this. So, like, he had no idea why all the people were involved in the climax of the movie. It was also another detail that I kind of realized that dang, that I realized that W.S. Anderson got wrong after the fact was that part of the lore of Monster Hunter is that come on, hit the thing. Part of the lore of Monster Hunter is that only 4 people can like be on hunts together. Dang it. Because of it's considered bad luck to have more than 4 people on a hunt, and yet in the climax of the movie there's so many people. What? Sorry, that interrupted me because that was some BS. I was standing behind him for that attack. Why did that deal any damage to me at all, let alone kill me? That was ridiculous. Anyway, but so the climax of the movie, there's like 7 or 8 people that try to take on the Rathalos at the end, and they're just there just to kind of raise the body count of the movie. Like they pretty much get burned alive right off the bat. What was I saying? So Daniel was asking like, who is this person? Why were all these people here? Like, and so we had to explain to him like, well, they're from the games and this is what they do in the games. And it was most of the references, like you see characters from the games, stuff like that. They're very shallow references. It's basically like people who play the games and go, oh, hey, there's the handler. But when we see the handler, we don't get a good idea what the handler does or what her role actually is in hunts and stuff like that. So it is literally just to say, hey, I recognize that thing and I recognize this thing. Same thing with Ron Perlman being the admiral. I love it how the dogs sometimes just fall off the vines like that when you get to the top. Ron Perlman being the admiral, again, it's a paper thin reference to the games, just so people who played the games can say, hey, I know what that dude's from. So like the world building in the game is not very good. Oh snap! I'm surprised he hasn't left this area yet. I don't know if we've really been doing enough damage. Come on, hit the thing. Did you hit it? I don't know if you hit my little hellfire thing. Anyway, certain other mechanics. I know I'm jumping around all the time. There's really no structure to how I do any of this, but certain other mechanics from the game that aren't represented very well is like monster carving. The fact that all the weapons and armor are actually made from monster parts. It would have been really nice to kind of explain that, and that the armor that the characters wear. The armor that the characters wear, made from monster parts, and the characteristics are supposed to be from the monster, and that the armor that they wear give the hunters abilities, again, that are kind of inspired from the monster. Like none of that's explained. Not like it really like none of it's really shown anyway. Like all the weapons are just bone weapons. So like there's never a sense that any of the gear that you see in the movie actually comes from any of the monsters, which was really disappointing. Oh snap. Yeah, and as someone, Paul W. Sanderson says that he's been playing the games for over 10 years. you'd think that he would have really wanted to showcase a lot of that and just have that be a part of his movie, that he would want his audience to understand that, because that's such a cool element of the games. And it kind of explains why your weapons and armor give you the abilities that it does. No idea why that wasn't a part of the movie, but it wasn't. Let me look at some of my notes here. I've been rambling without actually checking my notes. I just want to make sure I cover all the things that I wrote down. Monster and weapon size. Oh, right. That was another thing that I was having a very hard time believing. So the size of the monsters and the weapons seemed very inconsistent, where like Rathalos seemed to be like a different size every shot. And I don't know if that was just me or if that was something that actually happened, but like there were moments where like Mila Jovovich is fighting the Rathalos, and it is always way too big. Like it's definitely always much larger than any Rathalos is ever supposed to be. But like there were times where the Rathalos is like literally the size of like a 747, and then other times where it's just like maybe 1.5 times the size that it's supposed to be. It was never the correct size. It was always too big. It was always too big, but it also always changed sizes as well. I mean, and if you've seen the movie or even the trailer, you might know the part where she is like facing off after it like destroys the airplane that she was in, and it literally looks like it's the size of a 747. It is extremely gigantic, and you just have to wonder like has any of the people who worked on this movie played the games, you know? And also like the weapon sizes seemed inconsistent. So like Tony Jaa has a great sword that he uses. Okay. Why does that kill you? That is so ridiculous. I have no idea why that just straight up kills you. Well, sorry guys, I double carded. So he has this great sword that he uses, and like I said, it seems to change size. Like sometimes it's like, and another kind of like how the Rathalos changes size and is always bigger than it should be. The great sword also always changes size and is always smaller than it should be. I mean, the great sword, if you played the game, you know that when you unsheath your great sword, here, look, here's a great sword. Like, look at how giant that is. I mean, that great sword is the size of you, if not even much bigger, and it's supposed to be extremely heavy. When you play great sword and you unsheath your weapon, your movement is so nerfed because of the weight of this thing. Well, the great sword that he uses in the movie, he kind of like tosses and spins around as if it's like a 2-pound piece of plastic, and it's just kind of funny. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a drink real quick because I'm talking, my mouth's getting dry. All right, sorry about that. Now I'm belching. That was another thing that I thought was ridiculous, and even like some other details about the weapons that are just flat out wrong, or like, I think it's like the Ace Hunter's in the movie, and he uses a sword and shield. You don't really get a good look at the weapons that the guy is carrying, but when I say I think he's using a sword and shield, just because he has like a small sword in his hand, but I don't remember seeing him holding a shield at any point. So you're just like, where's the dude's shield? Or is this like supposed to be just another great sword, and the great sword is only the size of a normal sword, just like the one Tony Jaa was using? Also, why does he have 2 weapons throughout the movie? Like, for the most part, he uses a bow, but then while carrying a bow, he also carries a great sword, and then later in the movie, he has an insect glaive. Like, what is that about? And it makes you wonder, has Paul W.S. Anderson actually played the games? And then at the very end of the movie, like the last little, I don't know if it's the last little detail that triggered me, but the thing, one of the last details that triggered me was when you see Tony Jaa with an insect glaive, it's hilarious because he's still carrying his bow and he's got the glaive on his back, and that's the first alarming thing that you see. And you also notice that the dude is not, he doesn't have a kinsect. Like, why have him carrying an insect glaive if, oh jeez, if he doesn't have a kinsect? Like, that's the whole point of insect glaive. That's why it's in the name, insect glaive. Again, that's only a detail you would know if you're familiar with the games. But it's just ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? And it's for sure an insect glaive, one, because it just looks like it, but he also pole vaults himself into the air to try to J Sway Monte the monster. I it's just all these little things that would have been so easy to get right are just not, and it kind of blows my mind. I'm gonna try to. I'll poke his back. Is that a hammer, dude? That's sweet. Another thing is, like, how come all the weapon types weren't shown? Like, oh, like, I get that. Like maybe some weapon types would have been really hard to show, like maybe in combat. So like, it's like, you know, Ron Perlman, he's rocking a switch axe or a charge blade or maybe even a greatsword. Who actually knows? And you never actually see it morph. And you know what? That part doesn't bother me. I would have liked to have seen it morph. That would have been really, really cool. But you don't see it morph. Like, I get that. Like, that would have been really hard for the production team to try to do and have it look good and everything. Like, I'm okay with not seeing it morph. And so, like, there are other weapons that maybe would have been hard to show in combat. Like, obviously, like the charge blade would have been really difficult to show in combat and kind of have the audience understand what's actually happening there. So, like, I'm cool with that, but I still would have liked to have at least seen people carrying the stuff around. You know, the hammer would have looked kind of goofy, probably, like on a dude's back. Like in a video game, it doesn't look so goofy because it's a video game. But it just would have been cool to see someone with a hammer. I want to touch it. Nice. That's always satisfying. I do love that new mechanic with this monster that you can leave your blight on the ground for him to run into. Ooh. I'm just going to heal up every little bit I can because this dude just has a tendency to one-shot you. Ooh. All right, what's next on the list? Have I covered it? Every like main thing. Yeah. So weapon sizes. Oh yeah, Nursilla. Nursilla was a strange one. So Nursilla's in the movie, and just again something else that the movie just gets wrong. Didn't need to get wrong, but it got it wrong. Like, I didn't even know it was Nursilla because it doesn't look anything like Nursilla. It wasn't until like Zinc Deficiency leaned over to me and said like I think that's Nursilla, and I was like, what? No, it's not. Like, Nursilla is like really colorful and like covered in like skin and rubber and stuff, and he's like, no, I know that. Like, I totally get that, but I think that's who that monster's supposed to be, because it's a large part of the movie is that there's like a big Nursilla nest or whatever that Mila Jovovich is trying to avoid. And at one point, she's even in the nest, and as she escapes it, and Nursillas are coming after her and Tony Jaa. It's a whole big thing. And I had no idea that it was supposed to be. Oh snap! It was supposed to be Nursilla because it was just all black. And that's just this movie's like attempt to try to make everything all like dark and serious and brooding and kind of scary, and so I did not pick up on the fact that it was Nursilla. And then after the Zinc Deficiency said that, I was like, are you sure? And sure enough, like it was, because Tony Jaa, he clearly says like Nursilla, that's Nursilla. And then like later in the movie, they use Nursilla's like sleep capabilities to try to sleep the Diablos that's giving them a hard time. Ugh. I really need to sharpen. So just another thing that it didn't need to get wrong, but it did. Like Narcilla is supposed to be covered in like gypsyros rubber and stuff like that, and it's supposed to shoot webs at you. But this is just a kind of just generic like horror movie monster spider. Um, but all my chief complaints are complaints I have as a Monster Hunter fan. It the details it gets wrong, I can complain about and hate all day. But like, so even though I thought Narcilla didn't look right, uh, I also still thought Narcilla in the movie was very creepy. Like all the moments where Narcilla was like was like killing people uh and chasing you down, and you see and hear it crawling at you. It's like I thought it was genuinely kind of terrifying. The whole sequence when Mila Jovovich is like stuck in the Narcilla's nest, I thought was a genuinely like well done like horror sequence. I mean, it's kind of weird that they're doing like a horror sequence in a Monster Hunter game, because I mean a big problem that the movie has is that it's trying to be all dark and serious when the games are super light and whimsical and funny and actually just very cute. Um, so like, it's weird that they were doing like a horror thing, but again, that's only a problem you would have if you were like super into the games. So like my roommate Dana he was obviously fine with all that. He's like, yeah, I thought the spiders were creepy, and even I did too. Like I was able just to kind of I wasn't judging the movie too harshly. Oh, snap. Oh. Oh, I'm just sorry. I'm trying to focus, trying not to die here. Because usually when he goes in this state, if he just touches you, you will get one shot, which is really cool. So Narcilla is technically in the movie, though it's unlike any Narcilla I've ever seen. At least the sizes always seemed consistent, though. Like I never thought that Narcilla just like the same Narcilla would change size. So I guess I'll give him some points for that. Okay, where's my dog? I need to sharpen. Oh, oh. Um. So I haven't mentioned. Oh, dang it! Dang, I thought we were gonna get them this time, but I doubt it. At least I haven't carded yet. So. Was that? Oh, or Pete, are you mine? I don't know who. Sweet. Okay. Oh, he's leaving anyway. So one thing I haven't mentioned, like I've talked a lot about how like they get a lot of details wrong, blah blah blah. And the obvious one is the fact that the story is about Mila Jovovich is like a military sergeant of some kind, and she has like a platoon, and then there's like this weird thunderstorm that teleports her into the world of Monster Hunter. Like obviously that is nothing like the game. Like it's not about some alternate dimension. There isn't an alternate dimension. It's just this is the world, and you don't play as someone who is from the Earth realm and you go into the Monster Hunter realm. Like that's not a thing. It's just there's just this world, and you're just a part of it. You're born and raised here. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think what's his face? Paul W. Anderson. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, his. I kind of get his motivation behind having that be the story, having that be the element of the story, because the Monster Hunter world is different and it's unique, and by having the main character be like a fish out of the water, like the audience will be like things can be explained to the character just for the benefit of them being actually explained to the audience. So by making her by making sure that she's like as confused by everything she's seeing as the audience is, it's like maybe that'll make it easy to oh, dang it. Okay, I'm gonna gonna focus and heal. It'll just make it. It'll be a good way to try to explain all the important parts to the audience without making it seem like you're holding their hand. But I think that's ridiculous. I don't think they should have done that, because it's just another thing to get wrong about the game for no reason. Like, you could just drop the audience into the world of Monster Hunter and just build the world well. Just do a good job building the world and defining all the different aspects of it. It can be done, and it has been done before. The movie I was thinking about was Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, and how, like, that movie does an excellent job by dropping the audience into that world. And it's not like it's about some character that, say, like, was put into a coma 1,000 years ago and then woke up, and suddenly now they're in the world of Ready Player One, and everything just needs to be, like, spoon fed to them for them to understand what's going on. That way we as an audience can understand what's going on. Like, Spielberg he doesn't do that. The main character is someone who grew up in that world, and he just does a good job with world building and makes it so that we as audience members just know what's going on. He sets up all the major players of the story, and all the major, like, elements of it, and just kind of lets us know the roles everyone plays in it. But I wish that Paul W.S. Anderson would have taken that kind of approach. I understand that's not easy, but maybe if he didn't take the easy way out on that, we would have had a better movie. It's very evident, even if you don't play the games, it's very evident that that's what's going on there. It's really is kind of too bad. Though I shouldn't be surprised that the movie is not like the games, and I'm not, and I was expecting that. I would have. I can have that separation, though. Like, I'm okay with them not being similar. Like, honestly, I would have been satisfied. Even, like, the Monster Hunter loving side of me would have been perfectly satisfied if the movie was just them fighting monsters, big scary monsters, the whole time. Like, yeah, have your stupid plots of Mila Jovovich being a fish out of the water and she's from the Earth realm. Have that. Even call Cephalosis Ramibres, and don't say so tasty when you easily could have. Like, do all that stuff. The only thing I really would have I would have wanted to be happy with, like, even like the game representation side, is just get the monsters right, get the weapons right, and just show us people using them. That would have been fine. And it couldn't do that. It had to just do a very, very different kind of thing. So it didn't please me as a Monster Hunter fan. Though, as a movie fan, I really don't have a whole lot of issues with what it is. And like I said, the effects are good, sound design's good. I think that Mila Jovovich and Tony Jaa are really good. They have good chemistry. Ron Perlman, I love Ron Perlman, don't get me wrong. I don't really like him so much in this movie. It's mostly just because they don't really give him anything to do. He doesn't have any sort of purpose. I really, but also I hate his hair. He looks so funky in this movie. Look at a screenshot of him and you'll know what I mean. And I know that's not just because I know what the Admiral looks like in the games. Like, even Dana was like, why does Ron Perlman look so funky in this? It's like, well, he looks better in the game. I know that much. But for what it was fine. I think that the monsters, even though they're not well represented from the game, like, they're still, like, really cool and intimidating in their own right. Diablos really does feel like a force to be reckoned with, and Rathalos, it's like, oh, how are they gonna beat him? It seems impossible. The odds are stacked against them, and you know, like that was all really cool. Oh, another detail I have to mention. That's like I don't know why it's a part of this movie at all in any capacity. Is so Rathalos is sort of like the climactic fight is a Rathalos, and that's a great choice for a climactic monster. Uh, it's the most iconic monster for the whole series. It's like, yeah, Rathalos isn't even close to being like one of the hardest fights or anything like that, or one of the toughest monsters. But you know, just because of its iconic status, like yeah, have that be the climax. Like totally, you know, that's perfect. But the way they have to fight it and kill it is so laughable. Again, just as an aspect of it not being like the game, uh, it is so laughable because um, something Ron Perlman says. He's like, "Oh, the monster is only vulnerable right before it breathes fire," and that I thought that was strange at first. I'm like, "What? What does that mean? Why?" Like, because that's not at all a thing from the game. I don't know why that's something you even just said. Um, all monsters are vulnerable at any time. You know, everything will die if you hit it enough. Like, yeah, I mean, there are times where it can be like weaker or whatever, like, and it has weak spots. Um, but it's not like before it breathes fire. I don't know why that was. And then it accumulates to at the very end, and it becomes a part of the climax. Like, oh, he's about to breathe fire, so Mila Jovovich like uh, puts like a bomb into its mouth or something and blows it up right before it breathes fire, and it's like, oh, okay, so that's why they established that. It's just so they can have that moment. Um, and yeah, as a Monster Hunter fan, that is just one of the weirdest things. I'm like, how did you even come up with that? Like, I don't even like, because that's all just made up. That's not getting anything wrong. That's just making stuff up, and I don't know how they came up with it. It's uh, like, I mean, as a Monster Hunter fan, I would have been like, I probably would have expected him to hear like, oh, he's weakest if you attack him with dragon or thunder. Like, oh, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That is true. Bring those elements with you when you fight it. Oh, okay, I thought I was gonna do another paw slam. I don't know if I'm fighting this thing like as efficiently as I can be. Like, I know when I'm just like fighting it, like I do all right with my guards and stuff, and I'm probably not in any of this stream just because I'm mostly focusing on the movie. um. Ooh, nice. Oh, sweet. That did 611. That wasn't me that did 611. I don't think. But this monster is tough. Like, I hear he's been kind of dialed up just for the sake of the demo. So I don't know if he'll actually be this hard in the final game. But I haven't been able to kill him yet. I've tried many times. I've tried solo. Even on my best solo hunts, I don't cart, and I'm just trading hits back and forth with them, and I feel like I'm doing really good. I run out of time. Like, I'd be like, oh, I know I could kill him, but you're only given 15 minutes on this quest. So for me, it's my biggest issue is just the time. Oh, snap. I thought I would have counter guarded. So let me check my notes one more time. Characters aren't defined. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've covered pretty much everything I wrote down. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I'm even forgetting, but I mean, I feel like you get the point that like like anything based off of a book or a game, the movie is not like it. And I don't really subscribe to the idea that like the movie is always worse. Like everyone says, like, oh, oh, dang it, I thought he was gonna do his, I thought he was doing his thing where he puts his paw on the ground and swipes across. I didn't realize he was doing that like double shoulder thing. A lot of people say that the book is always better than the movie and all that stuff. I don't really believe in that. I just believe that it's like apples and oranges. You can't really compare them. They both do things that the other can't. So I'm not really going to judge a movie for not being like a book or whatever. That being said, you still want, if you're a fan of whatever source material a movie is based on, you still want that movie to represent that thing you love, because a lot of the time when you love something, you talk, or at least when I do, I'm always talking about Monster Hunter and stuff, like whether I'm at work or hanging out with my friends, like I usually mention Monster Hunter at some point. Down here now. I usually mention Monster Hunter at some point in any conversation that I have, and it's just one of my things. And like anyone who sees the movie might get an idea and be like, oh, okay, so that's what Monster Hunter is. I'm just like, no, Monster Hunter is not that at all. And like maybe whatever my idea of like what Harry Potter is, like big fans of the books are just like, no, definitely not that. I know like my sisters are really into Harry Potter, and it's kind of a debate we have, like, because like a lot of the time my favorite movies in the series are not theirs, because they're a lot of their love for whatever movies that they like are kind of based on the loyalty to the source material, whereas like to me that's not at all a factor. And so I definitely try to be fair. I don't think that movies need to be like the books or anything like that. I don't want movies to be like, or I don't want any adaptation to be like the thing it's adapting, because then it's like, why even consume that piece of media at all? Like, if it's like if a movie is exactly like the book, then it's like, why even watch the movie? You might as well just read the book again. I kind of want them to be different beasts. I want them to be their own unique experiences, but at the same time, not radically change like the core conceits of what the source is. And the main reason, but even then, like, it doesn't need to. Even then, I think that it can radically change it, because I've seen it proven that when a movie is nothing like the book, it is still like so great in its own way. The prime example being Stanley Kubrick's. Okay, I'm just going to take this because I was trying to take a potion for some reason and I couldn't get it to do the thing. But like Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, nothing like the book. But it's a great movie. And so it's like, okay, a movie doesn't need to be like the source material at all to be great in its own way. God, I'm just not playing good right now. Take the potion. I don't know why the controls are not being very responsive right now. So I'm totally fine with the movie not being like the game. Obviously I would have preferred it to be more like it, but whatever. It doesn't really bother me a whole lot. Like, it's not like the games are any different because the movie's what it is. And I'm in a bad spot. This is probably the closest I've ever got Magnamalo to dying. I feel like one of the times when I tried to solo him, I got him real close and I just ran out of time. But as a group, like, This is the best I think I've ever done with a group. I guess I could try to help more by putting traps down myself. I feel like I'm just hurting the team since I'm also trying to like talk about the movie. So you're doing the big thingy. Here, Emmy, take some life juice. Oh, that was close. I just need to sharpen. Honestly, the most use I get out of the Palamute is just the fact that you can ride them and sharpen. That helps me so much during a hunt, just so it's like when the monster's being all mad and stuff, like I can still get a sharpen off and not worry as much about the monster killing me while I do it. Oh. Oh, jeez. Okay. I thought I was going to have him there. That kind of sucks. Okay. I'm a little a little annoyed. Oh no, I didn't hit a button in time. Oh, or maybe it automatically. Man, that really sucks. I guess I'll give it at least one more shot. Maybe if like I said, I've pretty much said all I have to say on the Monster Hunter movie. I feel like I would just be repeating myself if I kept going. Do I want to play Lance still? Lance is just kind of my main right now. Maybe it would help if I tried to switch to something else. But I'm just really not as good with anything else. Like I consider myself a pretty good bow user, but bow and rise just doesn't feel good. It feels so weak. Oh, it's wait on me. I don't know if it actually is weak, but it just doesn't feel good to play. Yeah, so I'll try to do at least one more good Magnum Hollow attempt, and then I'm gonna hop off. Like I said, I've pretty much said everything I have to say about the movie. It's ridiculous. It's such a mixed bag. Like, you know, if you don't care about Monster Hunter, don't know anything about it, like it's not bad. Honestly, like I'd recommend it. And not even as like a meme. Like I think it's a fine movie for what it is. I'd recommend anybody watch it. It's got some action, it's got some horror, it's got some comedy, and all of it is done pretty well. I think it's one of Paul W.S. Anderson's better made movies. Just a few nights before I actually went to the theater to see that movie, I threw on a Resident Evil movie. I forget which one it is. I think it's Resident Evil Afterlife. It was on one of the million streaming platforms that I subscribe to. I don't remember which one it was. I think Stars, but I could be wrong. It might be Hulu or something. But I threw that on just kind of, you know, one night. I'm laying in bed being lazy. Oh, gosh, see, that's why I should have used the Thunder Beetle. I don't know why I didn't. And so I threw it on just because I like watching bad movies. And I just remember thinking, like, man, this movie is really awful. Like, it's really poorly shot. It looks like a very cheap made-for-TV movie. The action scenes are super disorienting, and I don't know what's going on in them. And the plot's so convoluted. And even though I've seen most of the Resident Evil, I think I've seen pretty much every Resident Evil movie. At least once. I know I have at least once, but I've seen. I think everyone except for the seventh one, like at least 2 times. I couldn't tell you anything that goes on. Why hit the thing? I hit the. Ugh. All right. This isn't gonna be good. I've already carded. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was complaining about the controls being unresponsive. I was spamming LZ and A trying to do that counter move. So I don't know what happened there. You can really get some distance with that wire bug. But anyway, yeah, I was surprised just by how bad the writing was in that movie, how bad the photography was in that movie. It looked very cheap. I mean, it was a cheap production. I understand that. But that doesn't change the fact that it still looked cheap. Like, it didn't look pleasant. It didn't feel good to look at the screen, and that's not a feeling you should be feeling. Like, even though it was a low budget movie, and I can be somewhat forgiving. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fact that I thought the movie didn't look good. The effects were all really bad and things like that. Like, it's just not a good movie. And I thought Monster Hunter was going to kind of be like that, but it never really felt like that. It always felt it felt like everything about it was very competent. All the production design was good. The monsters were good, even if they weren't accurate to the game. But just the effects, the movie looked good. It looked like an actual movie. Whereas like Resident Evil Afterlife, I think that's the one it was, just didn't feel like a movie. Gosh, I'm just getting staggered out of everything. I'll just stick here to the tail. Hopefully no one else comes here. I don't even know if you can cut this thing's tail off. I wonder if you can. I haven't been able to do it. I've done attempts of this monster where all I did was focus on the tail, and I could never get it to come off. Nope, wrong way. This way. Yeah, so I'd say that the Monster Hunter movie is one of Paul W.S. Anderson's better made movies. Oh, that killed? I don't know what just happened, but I guess I died, and I'm kind of annoyed with this game. I'm probably gonna play some Zelda to take my mind off of it. So that's it. That's all I got to say about it. It's a good movie. I'll say that. I think it's a good movie. I'd recommend anybody see it. I'd recommend it to just like people who like those kinds of movies. I'd also still recommend it to people who love Monster Hunter, just because they're going to just really enjoy just how bad it is. Maybe you kind of have to have a demeanor like me to to really enjoy something that's bad, but I think most people out there do to a degree. So no matter how you approach this movie, I think you'll get some entertainment out of it. So I do recommend the Monster Hunter movie. And I'm just biding my time until Rise comes out. It is the 16th. It comes out in 10 days, and I have my reservations. You know, I know that I already know that Rise isn't going to be the kind of Monster Hunter I want it to be. It's basically like Monster Hunter World with some steps in the right direction, but it's still basically Monster Hunter World, and I'm not the biggest fan of World. So, but I'm still excited. I mean, World I still think is a good game, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. And so if this is going to be like Monster Hunter World, I think that I'm going to get enjoyment out of it. It's just not going to be the kind of game where I can put like 800 hours into it like I did with GU, which is funny because I say I don't like World, but I've played World for about 1,000 hours in total. Like that's over the course of several playthroughs, and also like when World came out, I was still relatively new to Monster Hunter, so I was just very into Monster Hunter. Even if it's Monster Hunter I don't like, I just wanted to play it. So since it was new, I was just on a big kick. So that's my explanation for still putting a bunch of time into that game, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it. Uh, so like I'm excited for Rise. Monster Hunter's is a very interesting place because it's mainstream now. I mean, it got a movie adaptation, and it is Capcom's biggest seller. It's actually known here in the West now, and because of that, since it is so big and such a cash cow, uh, that's obviously affecting a lot of design. They're keeping some of the quality of life improvements that World brought in to try to appeal to Western audiences still and try to get those big sales numbers. And I personally I'm not excited about that. And I don't know if it's going to maintain that momentum. Maybe Rise won't sell well. I don't know. Maybe World was just kind of like a one-off thing, and people are done with the series, and it's just going to be big in Japan again. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm still excited to play it. Just it's even Monster Hunter at its worst is still Monster Hunter. So I'm excited for that, and it's just an interesting time to be a fan right now because like World and Iceborne. I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's dead, but it's kind of over at least. Like they're not going to be like updating it with a bunch of new monsters anymore. They're going to be focusing their efforts on Rise, but if you want to play all that, you can still probably get a pretty good online experience with World and Iceborne. And I know people are still playing GU, and if you were to go back as far as maybe 4U, things might feel kind of barren because I mean, like I've been I started playing 4U for the first time about 2 years ago, and even then, like it was hard to find people online. But it's still a great game to experience, even if you kind of have to solo everything. So like if you're a Monster Hunter fan, you got GU to work with, you got World and Iceborne to work with. Rise is coming out. We just got a movie. There's a lot going on. I don't like it all. Even though there's a lot going on, and I do like that fact. What is going on, I don't think is altogether ideal. Maybe I'm just kind of a snob for what I want from the franchise, but anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. I'm rambling now. I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna play some Zelda. Maybe I'll get something to eat because it is 6:30 and I haven't eaten since 11, so I'm pretty starving. So, to anyone who listened to me ramble about this game, I appreciate you guys watching, whether it was live or just watching the VOD later. So, I still haven't come up with a good sign off. I'm Bretflix, and thanks for flixing with me.